So how's it going, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the channel. Today guys, we're doing YugiOh news for Master Duel. And as you read on the description and the thumbnail, we are going to talk about the cards that you need to craft before Tearlament comes into Master Duel. So first and foremost, let's get into the Master Duel website and talk about the cards that you need to craft. So here we are guys in the Master Duel website. So first things first, these cards are somewhat expensive because they are UR, most of them are URs. But luckily in the Battle Pass, we have 100 UR shards that you can actually use to craft these cards if ever you don't have any of them. So first and foremost, we have here right in front of you, That Grass Looks Greener. Now this card is 2 copies at best. And like Decade said on our his video, we are actually mimicking the ban list for the OCG. Even though this card is limited in Master Duel for 2 copies only, it is really beneficial to have this card on your deck. And of course, if you are running 60 cards, you'll definitely need to have 2 copies or max this out to 2 copies at best. Well, you can basically use this on a 40 card deck anyway. So yeah, 60 card deck. But you would be thinking, why would I actually use this card on a Tearlament deck? Well, basically there are 2 archetypes that would benefit this most alongside the Tearlaments, and that is Shaddolls and of course Dangers. Dangers has a unique effect that you can draw cards if ever it won't be targeted for a discard, and if ever your danger monsters are sent to the graveyard, they have a unique effect, whether from spell summoning monsters from your deck to your side of the field, or even just special summoning itself from the graveyard to your side of the field. Now in regards to the Shaddolls, each of the Shadow monsters will have a floating effect if ever they touch the graveyard. So that's really good, or that's a really good power when it comes to the Tearlaments. So having this on a 60 card deck alongside one of those archetypes with the Tearlaments is a really good synergy with the deck, or the archetype I mean. So with that out of the way, let's move towards the other spell cards that you might need to craft for the Tearlaments. So on our next card, we have here Foolish Burial. Now what is the purpose for Foolish Burial? Well, basically all of the Tearlament monsters have a unique floating effect once they are sent to the graveyard. And like I said, if ever you got this one and if you paired your Tearlament archetype with either the Shaddolls, then you don't have to worry about moving towards a good combo afterwards. It works a long way with just one card, and it's pretty useful with regards to the archetype. So with that out of the way, let's move towards the third one. Then we have here guys Foolish Burial Goods. Now it's typically like Foolish Burial, but instead of a monster that you send from your deck to the grave, this is actually a spell or trap. Now for all those who are new to the Tearlaments, there is one trap card that is really good if ever it's sent to the graveyard and has a unique floating effect. So the card I'm talking about is Tearlament Select. So this card right here, I'll read the effect. So if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one Tearlaments monster from your deck and to your hand. So that's a pretty good effect for a trap card sent to the graveyard. If you have 3 copies of this with 3 copies of Select, it is really good. So that is Foolish Burial Goods, and it's just an SR. You can just craft that one if ever you have some extra shards just lying around. Then we have Instant Fusion. Now this is one of the best spell cards there is for the Tearlaments, and because of 2 reasons and 2 reasons alone. First and foremost, Kit Callus is a level 5 fusion monster that you can actually spell summon to the field. Once Kit Callus is spell summoned to the field, it prompts its effect, and if it's sent to the graveyard, it floats. Or it's a really good spell card for Kit Callus. So that is Instant Fusion for you guys, ladies and gents. On towards the 5th one. So the 5th spell card that we are going to talk about today is Terraforming. Although it is a UR card, yes, I think most of you actually have it. If you are a Numeron player, you always have this one. If you are a Runic player, you always have this one. In some cases, most often of times, you will have this one just to bring out your Therian, this Colosseum as well. I think most of you nowadays have a copy of Terraforming, so that's gonna be great. If not, you can just craft that one from the Battle Pass that has, you know, free 100 UR shards if you wish. But anyways, back to Terraforming. The reason for this being in a Tearlament deck is to get a hold of their field spell, the Perlerino. I think I pronounced that right, Perlerino. So that field spell actually is the same with the Select. It brings out any Tearlament monster from your deck and add it to your hand. So it's a really good effect if you to bring out your field spell. Also, the field spell grants 500 attack boost for every Tearlament monsters on the field. So that's a really good effect. Now let's move towards the last 2 spell cards that you might need for the Tearlament deck. 6th card, and we're almost there, guys, to the last card. Reinforcement of the army. So the only target you can have for this is the Reinhardt. I think that's Reinhardt, right? Rhinoheart, I mean. So that's Tearlament's Rhinoheart, being a warrior and all, level 4 in its own right. And has a good effect once normal summon or special summon to the field. So that's a really good target for a reinforcement of the army. And lastly, I think most of you already have this, and if not, it's just easy to craft. And let's go to the 7th and last one. So last card, boys and girls, is your very own polymerization. Now I know it is really depressing having this in this lineup, but understand some of the Tearlament players, even the TCG or OCG, are using, I think that's King of the Swamp. So this card right here is basically used in most of the Tearlament decks in the TCG and OCGs, and paired with the polymerization card is also a good tech card included into the deck. But I think 30 to 40% of the players in TCG or OCG are using polymerization alongside King of the Swamp. But it's a pretty good spell card if ever you are, or if you lack other UR cards for the upcoming Tearlament archetype. Now basically this is actually a straightforward deck since most of your Tearlament monsters are fusion based. So yeah, it's really useful to have this one on your deck if ever you are scarce with the UR cards or the UR spell cards that I've mentioned so far. So basically, that is it, guys, and I really hope that the Tearlaments won't be alongside the Ishizu cards, because basically it's gonna be a lot of UR cards and SR cards jammed into one pack if ever that's the case. And Konami has a knack of actually separating other archetypes like the brandeds and the SPS way back, since there was a couple of patches or updates or a couple of packs before we even got into Mirror Jade, Lobelion, and most of the branded cards that we have nowadays in Master Duel. If ever that's going to be the case, hopefully it's going to be like that for the Tearlaments and the Ishizu cards. Nevertheless, Tearlaments at its own right is really strong just because of some other archetypes that we have here. And not to mention some of the monsters that are still unbanned here in Master Duel, but banned in the TCG or OCG. So take note of that, guys. There are some cards out there, excluding spell cards, that you might need for the Tearlaments, and I will talk about them in the later future or a later video. But as of now, this is the top 7 spell cards that you need to craft for the upcoming Tearlament archetype. So that's it for today. Keep safe, good luck, and if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and wait for another video hopefully by Tuesday or Thursday. Well, basically Tuesday and Thursday. That's basically my time schedule right there. So yeah, have a good night, boys and girls. Bye-bye.